Good morning. My name is Larry Egan and I'm a regional sales manager for Magnum Systems. And this morning we're going to talk about the top 10 questions you need to be asking and information you need to have if you want to do a bulk bag filling system. Among the topics we're going to cover are how big, how much, how fast versus how accurate, how is dust control handled, does it have an inner poly liner, does the material have a high angle of repose, do you need to transmit, record, and or store the weighing data? Do you need to fill other types of containers as well? What materials of construction are required? What is the electrical classification of the area? These 10 questions, if you're a project manager or a plant manager that wants to look at starting to put materials in bulk bags, are the questions that you should need to have some kind of an answer of, or it'll help you vastly if you do, in order to start putting a quote together in order to get a bulk bag filling system. First question is how big? As a regional sales manager, if I get asked to quote a bulk bag filler, the first question I usually ask somebody is, how big is the bag? Unfortunately, the response we get a lot of times is, I don't know, or it's a standard bulk bag. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a standard bulk bag. The next response we usually get from somebody is, well, it's 4 by 4 by 4. Well, usually they're not. In order to have a bulk bag, most people are going to be able to fit it on a pallet. With the bag sewn, if you had a bag that was really 4 by 4 by 4, by the time it swelled out, it wouldn't fit on a pallet, wouldn't fit well in the back of a truck, wouldn't fit well in a C-tainer. So it's really important that you get an idea of what the bag sizes are. Anybody with a sewing machine can make a bulk bag. So the bulk bags can range anywhere from fairly small to great big. The most common size that we run into is about 35 inches square for bulk bags, but that's really only true for about 30% of the bags. The key for us as a manufacturer is we have to make a frame around the bag that will hold the size of the given bag. Most of Magnum Systems bulk bag fillers have an adjustable strap range, but it's not infinite. So it's a good idea to have. It's good to have a good idea of what size bags you want to fill before you get started. The next question is how much, and the answer we usually get to that is 2,000 pounds, but that's not always the case. The main reason for a variance in bag weights is the bulk density of a material. If you've got trying to put feathers in a bag, then you're probably not going to hold 2,000 pounds of feathers. The same is true for things like fumed silica that's 4 pounds a cubic foot. 2,000 pounds would be a 500 cubic foot bulk bag. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're trying to do something like lead oxide that's 200 pounds a cubic foot, a 2,000 pound bag would only be 10 cubic foot bag. To give you a rough idea, where we start at with our standard data sheet models of a bulk bag filler is a 35 by 35 by 52, and we get bigger or smaller from there. A 35 by 35 by 52 is 37 cubic foot, which is a 2,000 pound bag if your material is around 55 to 60 pounds a cubic foot. The next question is, how fast versus how accurate do you need? How fast do you need to be able to fill a bulk bag versus how accurate do you need to be the weighment? Do you need the weighment to be from plus or minus of a target weight? Most bulk bag fillers have some kind of control mechanism to it. Our standard bulk bag filler has a knife gate for the inlet of the unit, and the standard options come in 6, 8, and 10-inch opening sizes. As you go to a bigger opening size, you're going to get a faster fill because there's a bigger cross-sectional area for the material to drop through, but when you go to close on the material, a bigger opening isn't going to close as fast, so you're not going to get as good an accuracy. For a rough rule of thumb, if you're trying to fill something like plastic pellets, you can go with a 6-inch knife gate and you can get about 12 bulk bags an hour, but at plus or minus 2 pounds. You can go to as big as a 10-inch knife gate and maybe get 20 bags an hour, but then you're only going to get plus or minus 5 or 6 pounds instead of plus or minus 2 pounds. So there's a trade-off there. The same is true with other methods of bulk bag filling, whether you're talking about a knife gate with a bulk and dribble option, or you're talking about a rotary valve for fill, or if you're talking about some kind of a screw conveyor or flexible screw conveyor to be your control device to do that. You can go to a bigger screw or a smaller screw. A bigger screw is going to get you a faster fill, but it's not going to get as good a dribble accuracy at the end, even if you put it on a variable frequency drive. The next question is, how are you going to handle dust control for filling the bag. This is especially important with powders, and the finer the powder and the more aeratable that it is, the more important that it is. When you go to fill a bulk bag, a lot of people think of a bulk bag as empty, but the bulk bag's not really empty, it's full of air. As you open up the knife gate and begin to fill material into the bag, then the material is going to displace the air that's in the bag, and it's got to have somewhere to go. If you don't have good control of that, it's going to create a dusty mess all over the plant. The Magnum System standard bulk bag filler on our IBC 3000 has a device with an outer cone and an inner cone. The inner cone is sized up to match the knife gate valve or the rotary valve or the screw that's feeding the unit. The outer cone is sized to be just smaller than the inlet diameter of the bag. That outlet cone has an inflatable spout on it, and when you go to start your fill process, the neck of the bag will go up around the inflatable spout. The inflatable spout will inflate out to make a dust-tight connection, and then the material will come down from the gate through the inner cone, but the displaced air in the bag will come back up between the inner cone and the outer cone, and there's a dust collection port attached to the fill mechanism so that displaced air can be safely vented to a central dust collection system. Next question is, does your bag have an inner poly liner? A lot of people don't know this when we first ask them that. The heads up that you can get that you're probably going to have an inner liner is if you have either A, a very, very fine material, or B, your material is hygroscopic. If you're dealing something like lead chips or something like that, you're probably not going to have an inner liner. But if you're dealing with a material that's a super absorbent polymer, your odds are better than not you're going to have an inner liner. The inner liner is basically a little plastic bag that goes on the inside of the bulk bag, and that inner liner will basically create a moisture barrier to keep the material from getting out. It also helps if you have an extremely fine material so that the material won't seep out between the sewing threads of the bulk bag. It's important if you have an inner liner, especially if it's a lighter weight material, that you do something to inflate that liner before you begin filling the bag. If you don't do that, you'll start to get creases and pockets of unopened liner in the bag, and that could cause the bag to not be stable when you want to rack it, palletize it, or ship it later. In order to help with this, Taylor makes two methods of bulk bag inflator liners. One is a Venturi-based unit where you use a small amount of plant compressed air in order to blow open the bag before you start. If a customer doesn't have compressed air available, or if you're dealing with something like a dairy grade or something where you're afraid to get oil into the material that may be in your plant compressed air, we also make a blower package setup that can be used as an independent blower to inflate the inner liner. By doing this, it'll give you a much more stable fill. The next question is, does your material have a high angle of repose? If you're dealing with a material that flows out easy, like a regular grade sand or plastic pellets or something, this may not be applicable to you. But if you have a powder that has a high angle of repose, it can cause issues with filling the bag. If you're trying to put 35 cubic foot of material into a 40 cubic foot bag, if the material all evens out nice and flat, that's easy to do. But if your material has a tendency to set up with a high angle of repose, it'll leave the top of the bag with an empty void space that could cause you problems of trying to get the amount of material you want to get into the bag and make it stable. To help with this, bulk bag units, filling units can come equipped with a densification deck. Densification deck is basically a vibratory deck that the bag sits on, and vibrators are attached to the bottom, either electric or pneumatic, that can shift and shape the bottom of the bag so that the material that mounds up can be distributed out width-wise in order to be able to get a more densely packed fill. The next question is, when you're weighing up the bag, do you need to be able to just see the weight on the bag for the operator to be able to interact with it, or do you want to be able to take that data, transmit it, store it, communicate it to other places, and have it on record somewhere? At Magnum Systems, we have two different levels of scale capabilities. Our base scale, which is our T4000, basically shows the operator the information on the scale and it's readily available for him to inspect at the site. However, if you want to be able to store that data, take it remotely, put it in an Access database or an Excel spreadsheet, send it via DCS to some other part of your plant communication system, then we also have an upgrade to our T3000 scale, which will transmit data via Ethernet standard and also have cards attached to it that you can communicate with other methods of software such as Ethernet IP, Modbus, Profibus, C++, C#, anything like that. This enhanced scale will also manage to store recipes, so if you have multiple products you're trying to fill into a unit or products of different weight, you can click in between product codes with the touch of a button and not have to have your operator program in new pre-act conditions each time. It'll also do auto pre-act adjustments. This is really key if you've got a product that tends to vary a lot in bulk density, especially if you're coming right out of a mixer or something, and sometimes you get 25 pounds a cubic foot, sometimes you get 30 pounds a cubic foot. It'll help you do those kinds of adjustments by making automatic adjustments to the pre-act conditions. The key thing to note is between our base scale and our enhanced scale, there's no difference in speed, there's no difference in target accuracy, but there is a difference in data communication between the two. Next question is, when you're looking to fill bulk bags, are you just looking to fill bulk bags, or are you also looking to fill other kinds of containers, rigid containers such as drums and or probe boxes / Gaylord boxes? With our lift platform, we can adapt our IBC 3000 so that you can not only fill bulk bags, but you can also put attachments on it to fill drums or boxes, either a single box setup, or as you can see in this picture, a multiple drum setup where an operator simply shifts the fill point from one drum to another by means of a clutch brake. And if you want to get really extravagant with it, we can also set this up on an XY positioner so that the drum filler goes automatically from each drum to be filled. From there, some of the key things you're going to want to know in order to make sure you get an accurate quote on something is what materials or construction are required. On our standard bulk bag filler, the IBC 3000, it comes with a carbon steel frame and stainless steel product contact. We also have other options such as 316 stainless steel for product contact, and we can do exotic metals if needed. On the frame itself, carbon steel is usually standard, but you can get the frame in stainless steel as well if you're doing a wash down or a farmer grade environment. If you're looking for a cost midpoint between those two, we can still take a carbon steel frame and paint it with a sealant paint, which is a stainless steel impregnated epoxy as well. Finally, the 10th big question to ask yourself is, what's the electrical classification of the area? NEMA 12 would be just general industrial, which is standard, but we also have options for NEMA 4X, which is water wash down, corrosion resistant. You can get into explosion-proof classification such as Class 2 or NEMA 9, which is a dust explosion environment, or Class 1 / NEMA 7, which is a gas explosion environment. The way that we accomplish this is we go up to a NEMA 4X enclosure. Since the scales themselves cannot be classified because of the interactive buttons and display screens on them, the scales are set up with an enclosure to the panel, and then that panel is set up with a purge kit in order to keep compressed air on the panel to blow all the dust out. We have one purge kit that's rated for dust explosion and one purge kit that's rated for gas explosion. Finally, your bonus question is, what level of automation do you want to have on the system? Do you want to be able to just come in and take the bag in and out with a forklift, or do you want to be able to have it set up so that pallets can automatically dispensed out, move into position to be filled, move off of the unit for accumulation? We can make it as simple or as sophisticated as you want to do. Those are the big questions. If you have anything else, please let us know. Feel free to look at our website, www.magnumsystems.com, or call us at 1-800-748-7000. Thanks a lot and have a great day.